just my view. Other investigators have also come up with that. Foreign investigators, people from Scotland, people from America. That's not really the issue. But what we have is we have a total capture of every man, woman, and child in South Africa. They are totally captured, as I said, by the biggest organized crime syndicate ever exposed. And that crime syndicate, by definition, basically is made up of largely the government of the Republic of South Africa, organs of state. That would include the Justice Ministry. It would include the entire judicial system, bearing in mind that there are clearly some exceptions here and there. There must be some honest people in all of those departments. But the challenge is going to be to find those. It would include largely most of the legal professions in South Africa. And again, not all, but it's a challenge to find honest attorneys and honest advocates. I think we've got 16 High Court judges implicated up at this stage. And I say they are implicated because we've discovered now, first of all, before you become a judge or you go to law school, you're a citizen of the country. And every citizen of the country is subject to the laws of the country, and that includes the laws that are there to fight crime. In other words, the crime fighting laws, like, for example, the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, the basic one, which is the Criminal Procedure Act. And then there's, of course, you know, the Banking Acts and all the other acts that go with it. But in essence, Section 34 of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act makes it mandatory. There's no choice. Any person with no exception. It doesn't exclude a judge. It doesn't exclude the state president. It doesn't include anybody. It doesn't include the Pope. It doesn't exclude the dominee. It doesn't exclude the minister. It doesn't exclude you or me or any of our citizens. Nobody is excluded. When you come across corruption, just general corruption, we're not talking about corruption on this scale. When you come across corruption, it is mandatory that you will report that not just to the police, but to the DPCI, which in colloquial terms in South Africa is called the Hawks. They are the apex crime fighters in South Africa. Of course, and then what has to happen is the National Prosecuting Authority also has to swing into action. Bearing in mind now that South Africans are being told that there is no fear, there is no favor. We prosecute and there's absolutely no problem, and that there is rule of law. It has now been absolutely uncovered over a period of 3 years that I've been involved in this, and other people as far back as 2000 and I believe 13 have uncovered it. I think this is about my 9th or my 10th interview in the space of about 8 days. I've got another one that starts at 5 o'clock. That's going worldwide. These, what we now say, let's call them allegations for now, that have been found to be absolutely, totally true. The suspects, let's call them that, have actually had 3 years to answer these things. And all these investigations have been absolutely transparent. Every time a letter or an email went out by the forensic investigators, which I'm very grateful for. I'm not going to mention their names because their lives are also threatened. I know of 2 deaths, of 2 hit squads on me right now. I've been warned, and they're trying to actually have me arrested on all kinds of cooked up false charges in the Durban High Court, and to have me taken to the Durban, to the Westville prison. And I will not, I wonder if I'll even make it to the prison, but most likely I'll make it there and I'll be killed by some drug crazed person. It'll be a very sad story and shame, you know, that's it. But they are hoping to silence me on that. In essence, what we've got here is we've got the biggest organized crime syndicate made up of government portions. Let's call it modules. Let's call it clip-on parts, but the entire, the whole, the collective is made up basically by the government, organs of state, the judges, the judiciary, the officers of the court, even our own attorneys and advocates were involved in it. And I say that because so far we've got in our group, the Australian, New Zealand /Roodt group of companies, we've got so far 24 purported High Court orders that have never actually been in court. That we were led to believe that they were in court by our own legal teams, and they were actually part of it. Now, if you see, for example, if you see, I'm going to tell me if you can see it. This is just one out of the 27. I don't know if you can see it.
Switch on your camera, please.
Can you see it?
Can you switch on your camera?
At the top, yeah. It's mandatory that the judiciary logo must be there. There's not the logo. At the bottom here, there must be the registrar's date stamp and everything with the logo embedded on it. That is not there. This was all discovered by information that was put in the public domain by the office of the then Chief Justice, Justice Mogoeng. And we also, over a period, went and checked the court rolls. The three purported dates where 4 of our companies were alleged to have been in the Grahamstown High Court, those dates are the 24th of July of 2018 and the 14th of August of 2018 and the 22nd of August of 2018. Well, you're not going to believe it. On those 3 dates, there wasn't a single case even enrolled or heard in the Grahamstown High Court. And we've got the court roll here. It was checked by attorneys and advocates the other day. Anyone, any member, this is so far-fetched that I would suggest that the South African people go and check this out for themselves, because it's public record, it's in the public interest, and these records are available for anybody. I don't know if you're still there.
I'm here, Johann. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm here.
Hi, Lelani.
Hi. Okay. So,
just switch on your camera. Can you switch on your camera?
Is it on? Record. I can't record. I can see you. All the things that I press start video, integrate, choose virtual background video settings. Are you there? Okay. Right. Can you hear me? I can't. I've got this big thing in front of me now. Audio. Test the mic. Hello. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Cool. Can you see me? Some of the people are all trying to get on, and oh, now I've got this. I've seen. Hey, what a job! What a job! Let me see what I can do. Yeah. Start the video.
it should go. Start the video. It should go. I don't understand why it's not showing.
You can't start the video. Integrated with video settings. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to talk, and if you can see me, that's super cool. Just on the side, yeah, show me, because there's a big thingy in the front here now. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Lalani, on your right-hand side, just show me if you can see in here. Can you see in here?
No, hold on.
I can't hear you, so you need to give me a...
Okay, can you not hear me? Okay, yeah, you can't hear me. Okay, we can't see you.
Can you see me?
Yes. No, we can't see you. We just hear you. Can't see you. There's no video.
I'm not good at lip reading. I'm battling.
No video.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh,
Okay, don't worry. Just carry on. Just carry on, Johann. Just carry on.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Just
Yes.
do this.
Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you see me?
No.
I can see myself.
No, that's weird. I can't see you.
Okay. Shit. All right. Well, I don't know. Shall I just carry on talking?
Yes, yes, yes. Just
All
carry
right.
on.
So now what has actually happened is, I don't know where I ended up, but what's happened is that all this was exposed. Any of the people in South Africa, welcome. You can download it. It's on the internet. You can go and check the court rolls of Grahamstown of those dates that I've given. It's been checked by other attorneys and advocates as well 2-3 days ago. These matters were never ever in court. They were manufactured by all the people involved. And of course now, for some, well, they just don't get it. They're so desperate. Attorney Andrew Johnson and attorney Craig Preston White and advocate Adrian Collingwood and Judge Chili, because they tried to have me arrested, as I said, to silence me, thinking that, you know, if they silence me, this won't get out. They on some trumped up claim that I've been in breach of a court order, that I couldn't defame Andrew Johnson, because when this all started, I told everybody what had happened, and he got a suspended court order on me that if I breached that, I would get 6 months jail, which was suspended. Now, I didn't go and write any of these things. The investigators wrote the letters, and they didn't defame them. All they did is they went and started asking everybody that were involved, all our attorneys, all the people in the courts in Grahamstown, including at all times Andrew Johnson and his co-attorney Candy Hilliard, and the correspondent attorney in Grahamstown, Wielden Rushmere and Cole, Mike van der Veen. My own attorney was Megan van Wilderman. They transparently copied them all in. My own attorney in Grahamstown was Willie Fear. They included all of them transparently, and they went through the motions, and they said, okay, you know, just give us the supporting evidence to corroborate the fact that these things, because the investigations as it proceeded, you know, we couldn't, at that stage, we intended to appeal what we thought were actually authentic court orders that were actually in court. And I, in my own Heath Robinson, without any legal help, because they'd already depleted me, I did the best that I could to form some documents and to appeal, and I served that on Andrew Johnson, yeah, in Umhlanga Rocks, and of course had it filed in Grahamstown, and the judge who purportedly presided in these matters was Judge Jeremy Pickering in the final liquidation orders of the 22nd of August 2018, or the purported ones. And he had retired since then. Now this is where things fell apart for all these guys, because Judge Jeremy Pickering had retired, and I wanted to appeal. Another judge had to be appointed to hear the appeal, and the person that had to appoint that other judge was the judge president of the Eastern Cape, Judge Mbenengi. So all this ended up on his desk, and shame, and his poor registrar, Mrs. Malchas, she did such a sterling job. She went down, and Andrew Johnson had himself brazenly attached these fraudulent court orders, brazenly attached them, and wrote to Judge President Mbenengi and copied in Judge Madam Robertson, and said, look, these are the orders, because what had happened is Mrs. Malchas, she actually went down to the court records and she drew the court file. She found one file and one document in that file.
Unreal.
Now, bear in mind, we're talking 4 companies that were supposedly liquidated. There must have been, or there should have been, a pile of documents on file, because it's 4 companies and it's on 3 separate dates, and it would have required a huge amount of paperwork that would have had to be filed by APSA and Andrew Johnson and the correspondent attorneys and my attorneys. It would have been a lot of documents that would have been required, bearing in mind that that would also, all the documents that would have had to have been furnished by the liquidators and by the masters, and all of that would have had to have been in the files. Well, Mrs. Malchas found one document in there that related only to one single order that was, I think it was the 7th of June or July, which was actually just a case management thing that related to discovering of documents. In other words, a judge heard, a Judge Goosen, in fact. Judge Goosen heard that matter, and it was a case of what he was going to allow, or what could be allowed in the then envisaged cases that were supposed to carry on after that. There was a type judgment. It was about 6 or 7 pages, very nicely, very neatly done. Absolutely no problem with Judge Goosen whatsoever. And that's only that one document of about 8 pages that was found there. And that also did appear on the Grahamstown court roll. So no problems with that one whatsoever. However, when we then said to Mrs. Malchas, whoa, now listen, what about the other court orders? Well, of course, Attorney Andrew Johnson and his very stunning assistant attorney that helped him, Candy Hilliard, the 2 of them wrote to Judge Mbenengi and attached the 4 fraudulent orders and said, these are the orders that it relates to. Now, even these fraudulent ones were not in the court file. There was nothing. There was one document. So, of course, they now had to do some very desperate boxing, and they had to attach these 4 fraudulent orders. The very fact that they had the stones to go and attach 4 patently fraudulent orders, which, if you have a look at this, any judge, any attorney, anybody who works in a court can instantly see that they are totally fraudulent. They typed on plain, straight, white paper. They don't even have the mandatory judiciary logo at the top. They're not even stamped by the registrar at all. It's typed on plain white paper. And the fact that Attorney Andrew Johnson and Candy Hilliard did not have any fear to attach this and send it to the Judge President himself is unbelievable. Now, that draws straight into question the Judge President himself. Because you know what? We are all, or were all, under the impression that, the courts were absolutely wonderful. They were beyond reproach, that there's rule of law. I mean, a judge, when I grew up, the minister and the judge and the police, they were God's servants. They were absolutely, I mean, it was almost a a sacred calling, if you want to call it. And this was, it stunned us. We couldn't believe it at first. At first, we suspected that maybe, it became clear that this is fraudulent. And at that stage, we suspected that maybe somebody had fraudulently manufactured these orders, but had fraudulently used Judge Jeremy Pickering's name. And so we tracked Judge Jeremy Pickering down. He's retired in the Eastern Cape, if I remember correctly, in the Dordrecht area. We tracked him down. I managed to even get his cell number from some family members. And I sent him a text, and I basically said, Judge, you know, there's something seriously wrong here. We suspect there's fraud, and, you know, but we never knew what we knew now. We knew there was something seriously wrong, but we didn't have the full extent. He answered by saying, he's now retired. We must, you know, the investigators must get hold of his secretary, Mrs. de Villiers, who's still there, and he gave the details. And so, of course, Mrs. de Villiers was you know, included. And as more and more names came up, more and more people were included in the following email. So how shall I say, the recipients in all the ongoing emails just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew to well over 100. And of course, Mrs. de Villiers, she then answered by email, and I've got the email. She said, well, the last that Judge Jeremy Pickering had anything to do with the matters was when the final liquidation orders were granted on the 22nd of August of 2018. And bang, there she went and dropped herself. She went and dropped the judge. She went and dropped the whole lot, because we now knew that nobody had fraudulently used the judge's name.
I've been watching the news in the UK, and it turns
Mrs. de Villiers is his PA. And I mean, she should know. First of all, we had already discovered that there was no court at all on the 22nd of August of 2018. I'm talking at all. I'm talking not a divorce. I'm talking about no speeding fine hearing, nothing, absolutely nothing. It was like the Grahamstown court was in recess, and everybody, it's like telling somebody, you know, I give you an affidavit that I was in class in school on the 25th of December. It would be tantamount to that. It is absolutely, totally insane. But they were starting to panic. They went into a panic, and then it just got worse and worse and worse for them. And in March of 2021, myself and the investigators, we actually took all of this stuff up, and we went to go and see the head of the Hawks, General Godfrey Labaya, in his office in Silverton in Pretoria. We were very well received, and he was very gracious, actually fitted us in at very short notice. And we had already had two meetings with Advocate Willie Hofmeyer, who was the former head of the Asset Forfeiture Unit in the National Prosecuting Authority. And both of them instantly identified these orders that I'm talking about now. I'm talking within 30 seconds as fraudulent. I mean, these are professionals that they work with us all the time. Incidentally, General Labaya has got a law degree himself. I think he's got a master's degree. He's got 4 or 5 degrees. The man knows what he's talking about. He's not head of the Hawks for no reason. Yeah. So they instantly identified this as fraudulent. I don't want to go into all the details, but then Advocate Willie Hofmeyer requested my permission to take all of these documents that I'm telling you about and to file it with the Zondo Commission. And of course, I gladly, you know, I thought, this is it, bingo. We are now going to get somewhere. And at that stage, you think to yourself, well, you know, the Zondo Commission is there, and this is it. And whoa, this is, they're not going to believe their eyes when they see this. I said as much to Advocate Hofmeyer. I said, you're not going to believe this, Willie. He said, I will believe anything. I will believe anything. I said, no, but you won't believe this. He says, oh, I will believe anything. Oh, well, okay. You must remember, I got to take this all in real time. You know, you don't have time to reflect on it. But I believe it was filed with the Zondo Commission, but I reliably heard off the record that it couldn't be brought up at the Zondo Commission, because if it was brought up there in that public space, in front of all those reporters and everything, that would have been the collapse of South Africa's financial system. It would have been a collapse of the judiciary. It would have been collapse of anything. And I now see that, in fact, it would have been that. Because what we are sitting with now, if you have a look, I'll read you the definition of a failed state for now the listeners, not the viewers. A failed state, and this comes off Encyclopedia Britannica. This is not my view. You can just, Google is a wonderful thing. Just go and Google it. Encyclopedia Britannica. A failed state is a state that is unable to perform the two fundamental functions of a sovereign nation or a state in the modern world system. It cannot project authority over its territory or its people, and it cannot protect its national boundaries. Well, let's not even go there. The governing capacity of a failed state is attenuated such that it is unable to fulfill the administrative and organizational tasks required to control people and resources, and can provide only minimal public service. Its citizens no longer believe, this is important, its citizens no longer believe that their government is legitimate, and the state becomes illegitimate in the eyes of the international community. I'm reading this, I'm not making this up. A failed state is composed of feeble and flawed institutions. Often the executive barely functions, while the legislature, judiciary, bureaucracy, and armed forces have lost their capacity and professional independence. A failed state suffers from crumbling infrastructure, faltering utility supplies and educational and health facilities, and deteriorating basic human development indicators, such as infant mortality and literacy rates. Failed states create an environment, this is important, failed states create an environment of flourishing corruption and negative growth rates where honest economic activity cannot flourish. I'll repeat that. A failed state creates an environment where honest economic activity cannot flourish. The dynamics leading to and compounding state failure are many and varied, including civil war, ethnic violence or genocide, and listen to this, predatory government and bureaucratic behavior. I'll repeat that, predatory government and bureaucratic behavior. State failure comes in degrees and is often a function of both the collapse of state institution and societal collapse. A strong state provides guarantees, underlined, to its citizens and others under its jurisdiction in the three interrelated realms of, number one, security, number two, economics, and number three, politics. A failed state cannot maintain a monopoly on the legitimate use of violence and minimize internal conflict. A failed state cannot maintain a monopoly on the legitimate use of violence. It cannot formulate or implement public policies to effectively build infrastructure and deliver services or effective and equitable economic policies. In addition, it cannot provide for the representation and political empowerment of its citizens and protect civil liberties and fundamental human rights. Thus, state failure manifests itself when a state can no longer deliver physical security, a productive economic environment, and a stable political system for its people. A total collapse of the state follows. So what we have now is we've demonstrated, and I hope you're recording this,
Yes.
And I now straight out call out the entire government. I start with President Ramaphosa. Then I start with the President of Justice, Mr. Lamola. Then thirdly, I call on the Chief Justice, Judge Raymond Zondo. And I say to them that they must show cause as to why what I am stating here now is not so. Because we have now, by the way, there are, since I went public with this, I'm not sure if it's 8 days or 9 days. I was forced, Johnson and them forced my hand. Because when the hit squads came, I knew that, first of all, I made sure that every single document that I have, every email net has gone to hundreds of people. It's going into the cloud. It's going everywhere. So that if I do get assassinated, it will all be out. I have mandated various groups to actually make sure that this goes all the way, that the guilty parties are prosecuted, likely private prosecutions, but there appears to be, I've been exposed to so many people, grassroots people, who are livid because they are also victims. Remember, in our case, we've lost, through 3 filling stations, a petroleum delivery company, 2 chemical companies, we've through this unlawful, absolute, cruel, inhumane, just predatory action. There's about 100, I'd say make it 130 jobs. If you take the dependents and stuff, they probably about 900 or even perhaps even 1,000 people in the rural, in the poorest of poor areas that have all lost their food. And I don't even know how many of them are still alive. It is absolutely, it is inhumanely cruel. And then what they did is they used these fraudulent orders and they uttered them. Uttering is when you use as a base source document. You use a fraudulent document and you then take that fraudulent document and you take it further. For example, what they did is these fraudulent orders were used to fraudulently appoint the liquidators. The master is in on it. The master knows that these are fraudulent because the very same orders were handed to the master. So the masters are in. They then fraudulently appoint the liquidators. And the liquidators now swing into action together with the attorneys. And they then went to a firm called Cox Yates, who won some very prestigious legal award for, I think, a mid-range, South Africa's top mid-range law firm. And they then, knowing that this is fraudulent, using the fraudulent orders, filing it in Durban. And my family and I were evicted from a house that 6 years ago, I turned down 13 million rand. It wasn't on the market, but I had an offer. Somebody approached me via one of the estate agents. Yeah, I turned down 13 million rand. Everything we'd worked for 33 years. I took only 2 holidays that I can remember. I've worked all my life, and so did my family, and so did a lot of my people. So what we worked for 33 years. All went down just because we had actually accumulated assets that became the target. And one of the primary targets was the properties that we had the rights to in Flagstaff. The one is Earth 86 Flagstaff, which has a building on that we had rented to ShopRite Checkers for 3 periods of 5 years each. And it was coming to the end of the 15 years. And they had no more options to renew, but they had approached me and we were already engaged on renewing a renewal of the lease at much better, in our favor conditions and payment for a 10-year period. And a guy by the name of Charles Christodoulou, Comdev Developments, Charles Christodoulou, operates primarily out of Kokstad, not to be confused with the Nick Christodoulous. Charles Christodoulou is a different kettle of fish. He had actually approached my own attorney, Andre Kitching, at the time, or my attorney at the time, and tried to set up a meeting where he wanted a facilitation of a meeting with me, and he sort of said, well, there could be a mutually beneficial arrangement arrived at if he was after the lease of that building. And then, of course, the other property is Earth 273 in Flagstaff, on which we had a prime filling station about to be revamped, that right now, with a new margins that was allowed, we would be making about 6.5 million a month. And they assassinated everything just on that one. The income that I sort of reasonably think that would be coming out of the lease with ShopRite Checkers, which is what Charles Christodoulou primarily wanted, must be in a region, I'd guess, about 350,000 a month. The premises is about, I think it's 2,100 or 2,200 square meters. And they just absolutely came for us. They basically cut all our income streams. They had no right to even file these claims against us, APSA. So what happened is Andrew Johnson and Charles Christodoulou, this is now what is really scary. If an individual, a greedy individual in South Africa, wants to get something and just wants to steal it criminally, what Charles Christodoulou did is he went to Andrew Johnson, and Andrew Johnson also first wanted to facilitate and asked my then attorney Andre Kitching to facilitate a meeting between myself and Charles Christodoulou, which I turned down. So Johnson at that stage was actually acting. I've got the affidavit. Yeah, he was acting on behalf of Charles Christodoulou. When I turned that down, another attorney, Gary van Wyk, also acting for Charles Christodoulou about 3 months after that. This is towards the end of 2015, start 2016. Also requested a meeting on behalf and acting for Charles Christodoulou, which I also turned down, but he went a step further. He said to Andre Kitching that ShopRite was in the process of cancelling the lease with my or one of our companies, Theodore 119cc, but that Charles was very influential and, you know, had the inside track with the Checkers top people, and you know, basically tried to threaten, intimidate me that, you know, I was going to lose. He even went so far as to say they were in the throes of cancelling the lease. But I knew that that was a load of nonsense, because ShopRite had already, a guy by the name of Brian Heiberg had already engaged with me to renew the lease for another 10 years. So I knew that was all poppycock and shenanigans. But when I didn't agree to that, what then happened is, within a short space of time, APSA just filed against four of the companies. I immediately requested, you know, that they prove that they did it on the basis of saying that the first company, Fantastic View CC, was indebted to them for, I don't know, 10, 11 million rand, but that the target companies that they were after, that had all the valuable assets in, primarily Theodore 119cc, that they were co-sureties. In other words, if Fantastic View then owed the money and couldn't pay, then Theodore 119cc. That's how they set this thing up. I immediately demanded that they show the indebtedness, because you would require, well, we asked for the banking resolutions and the bank documents, firstly, for Fantastic View CC. That was flatly ignored. I said, well, then, now remember, I didn't quite know what I know now today. And I was in a flat spin, because when APSA comes for you, you know, you get a big fright, and then you go to your own attorney, and of course his story is he's waiting for you. His story is he says, well, I'm a panel attorney for APSA. I can't help you because 80% of my business comes from APSA, and if I say anything to you, that's it, my business goes down the chute. Meantime, he knew exactly what was coming. He knew exactly what was coming. And that's now just a little aside. But the point is this, that I actually had demanded 2 letters. I dictated 2 letters, and I said to two of my attorneys then, the one was Clinton Smith, and the other one was Megan von Wilderman. Word for word, they put it on each of their letterheads, basically demanding, proof that they, all the documents that I requested now, and that there were resolutions, because if any of these other three companies in our group were targeted or was liable for any of the debts of Fantastic View, claimed debts or indebtedness, which is in dispute all by itself, that's another story. But if they were liable and if there was lawful legal route to them, then there must be a resolution between Fantastic View and these other companies. Now, I was a minority shareholder in Fantastic View, so if there was a resolution like that, I certainly would have had to have signed it myself. And I knew there wasn't a resolution like that. Then on the other hand, the flip side on the other side is Theodore 119cc and Lubeck CC, and I think the other one is Silver Falls, I can't even remember. If they were legally bound to pay for any claims of monies owed by Fantastic View to ABSA, then they also would have had to have signed resolutions, because you can't just do what you want. Now, I was absolutely, totally certain that that was not the case for one simple reason. Theodore 119cc is actually owned by my trust. It's the Red Hot Trust. Now, there are beneficiaries and trustees in that trust, and I absolutely knew for absolutely certain that because it would have required my sons to have signed it. It would have required my wife to have signed it. I knew I would have had to have signed it, and I absolutely knew that that didn't exist at all. All of this was flatly ignored. When I raised it with Clinton Smith the one time, and they go through the whole big charade. It's the biggest act you've seen in your life. All of them, they all act. And when I raised it with Clinton Smith, I said, but Clinton, that desperate, man, in an absolute total state of turmoil. He says to me, oh, semantics. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I look at it, and you will not believe this. The majority shareholder of Fantastic View in any way at that time was Stanley Goldwana. Stanley Goldwana was a client of Andrew Johnson. Stanley Goldwana and his wife, Temperance, was a client of Andrew Johnson. And that's how they planned the whole thing, because what they then did is they went, Gary van Wyk, Temperance, they went and had Stanley certified that he's not able to handle his own affairs anymore. They must have intimidated the poor guy. They had him properly certified. And Temperance Goldwana openly bragged that she was going to get the filling station back with the help of Charles Christodoulou. Openly, I've got the affidavits. And that's another story. We'll deal with that one altogether. And of course, Andrew Johnson had everything there and was dealing. So what he did when, what him and Charles Christodoulou did when they couldn't get they couldn't coerce and strong arm me into a situation, they went and approached ABSA. They got a woman or a lady by the name of Liz van der Walt to just quickly pull up everything immediately and to demand payment and just pull the plug on everything on our normal business, our cash flow, the whole tooth. And the wheels were in motion, and our companies were sued. They didn't have the right, they didn't have the legal nexus, they had absolutely no right. They wouldn't give any documents, it was flatly ignored, and I now know why. Because they had my attorneys and my advocates in their pockets, and this is now proven by these fraudulent orders. Your listeners and your viewers must differentiate very clearly. I fully understand that people get liquidated. It happens in business. It's a sad thing when it happens. But I don't have a problem with somebody who genuinely owes the money and legal, lawful procedures are followed. And, it goes through court and it's heard and it's presided over and so on and so forth. I'm not even also talking about a judge that gets bribed to give a skewed judgment in favor of somebody, or a judge that's bribed and let somebody off. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking in this case that it wasn't even in court at all. I mean, they didn't even try and forge a stamp onto this. They didn't even try and forge a logo on it. This is how comfortable they are with it. It is absolutely insane. And now they are popping, since I've gone public, they are coming out, I'm not exaggerating, by the hundreds. And the other banks are included. The other 4 banks are included. I don't have a problem if you can't pay your car and the process is followed and they repossess your car. If it genuinely is so, but there's due process and the law must be seen to be followed. But these people, and in general, by the hundreds, they don't give a damn about the law, and you can't appeal this. You are absolutely, totally and utterly, you've got no chance. The banks own the courts. The banks and the judges and the courts, and I'm talking in general, please, I know that we're going to hear from an attorney or a judge, and a couple of them have actually come forward. We're not disclosing their names. There are some honest judges. There are some honest attorneys. There are some honest advocates. And it is the view. It's not just my view. It's now coming out that these poor people find themselves living in Sodom and Gomorrah, surrounded by other absolutely horrendously criminal peers and so on. So I do take that, and I just want everybody to know, I'm not saying every single judge is corrupt. I'm not saying every attorney or every police officer or every NPA official is corrupt. Not every, but I will go so far as to say that now it's going to take a real confrontation to separate those that are honest from those that are dishonest. And I'm going to put a small bet on the side here that if we come up with 5% of honest attorneys, advocates and judges and police officers, if we come up with 5%, I would be greatly impressed. I can't see it, because if you have a look at these orders, they've been in front of, when they filed all the documents for, trying to get me arrested in the Durban High Court, all of these fraudulent orders were filed there. So the Judge President Japie saw it, Judge Kruger saw it, Judge Henriquez saw it, Judge Chile saw it, the whole lot, they all saw it. And I mean, it is, if you put an authentic order and these orders next to a 6-year-old kid and you play spot the difference, the kid is going to laugh at you and say to you, are you trying to trick me? That is how obvious it is. It is a given that anybody who is a professional and that goes to court, what are courts about? People go to court because they have issues. And the end result of any court matter is there's a court order. And that court order has to be authentic. So everybody there works with it all the time. It's like a doctor seeing 30 people that have got flu every day or that have got colds every day. Yes, next. Yes, next. Yes, next. That's it. You can't actually, there is no excuse for this. Now, you must also understand that when you see a court order, the judge says, having heard counsel for the applicant and having read the documents filed of record. So every time a fraudulent order like this is presented by another attorney or advocate in another matter, that fraudulent order, the attorney and the advocate knows it's fraudulent, and they then go and file that fraudulent order, and the judge sees it's fraudulent, yet they carry on with that. Now, I've got, here's where it gets really even more interesting. I've got a case where the government itself, Petro SA, that is owned by the Central Energy Fund of South Africa, which is a state-owned enterprise. It is a very strategic state organ of state, the Central Energy Fund. They went and did exactly the same thing in Grahamstown High Court, At first, they tried to get a summary judgment against Fantastic View around 2012, 2013. They didn't get that. They waited a couple of months. And guess what? They go to Judge Jeremy Pickering. And you know what? They all manufacture a fraudulent order. But this is now further back. This is now 2013. I've got the case numbers here. I've absolutely got the whole lot. And they then used, here it is, they then use that fraudulent court order that they got in Grahamstown, and they come and they file it in the Durban High Court, and they sue me in my personal capacity for 11 million rand, and they present that fraudulent order as source document to Judge Bolton, Madam Bolton. And like I say, these things are so obviously fraudulent, you do not need some huge investigation into it. It's an insult to any judge to actually say, Judge, do you think this thing is fraudulent or something like that? It is an absolute insult. It is patently obvious.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in the conclusion of all of this is we have, and like I said, they're coming out by the hundreds. They're coming out all black, white, colored Indian. They're coming out no matter what political parties they belong to. They're coming out no matter what the persuasion of a religion is. The people of South Africa are being plundered and murdered psychologically, emotionally, financially, mentally, short of actually physically raping them. Short of actually physically raping them. They are being raped short of that. You have no idea what they're doing. 2 days ago, I was with a lady of 76. She's an advocate herself. A particular bank that I'm not going to mention now is busy doing it. When I got there to go and help her, she had sold everything. She had sold her car. She's bent over with arthritis. She had no food. She can't even walk. She'd sold the fittings in her house for food. She'd sold all her furniture. I didn't have any money there because I'm basically living on furniture that I'm selling. Living, you know, having had everything that money can buy. I never budgeted in my entire life. I never had to budget at all. And I think I had 150 or 160 rand. I took that out of my pocket. She was so dazed. She was emotionally, psychologically, she was so in such a stupor that she could hardly walk. She was walking around in circles.
Shame.
And I took 150 or 160 rand out of my pocket, and she burst out crying, and she said she had 57 cents in a handbag. It's to see that, and to see this is crimes against humanity. This is beyond anything. And they are taking people out. There's one particular advocate who from time to time actually is a presiding officer in a regional court. They took him out. When these guys focus on you and when they want to take you out, they take you out. And this is what they did. They did it to our companies because we had such high value assets, not because we owed any money or that they had a right to move against us. They just make it up. And then they use your attorneys with you. Your attorneys bleed you dry. You think they're fighting for you. They're in on the whole thing. And Charles Christodoulou then went to Andrew Johnson, and Andrew Johnson went to Absa Bank, where he's very well connected, and got Absa to pull the trigger on us, so to speak, with no right to do so. And Liz van der Walt set the wheels in motion, and that's it. So what I'm saying to each and every South African is that this is serious. We are already, by definition, in a failed state already. It's about to collapse. It is about to collapse, totally. There's no rule of law. It is about to collapse.
Yeah.
And they are now desperately trying to obviously take me out and to kill me. I say again, and I say that to everybody, I say that to Andrew Johnson, I say that to Judge Chile, I say that to Attorney Craig Preston White, I say that to Advocate Adrian Collingwood, and I say that to Absa Bank, and I say that to Barclays Bank, and I say that to the dirty judges. I say to all of them, this is already out in the international domain. Everything here is going to, I think it's now more than 22,000 people. There is, You can try and kill me, and you may even kill me, but you will not stop the process. They must think that I'm bluffing. I am not bluffing. It is the absolute truth.
Yeah.
I have, like I said, been interviewed by this. I'm not sure if this is the 9th or the 10th interview, but this is in the space of a week. Like I said, I got another one after this at 5 o'clock, and yeah, I must finish up. But this particular interview was sent, I was told by the TV crew that it was sent to APSA head office on Monday, and the full interview that's about to be screened in 28 states in Africa, up north, and 4 or 5 European states. I believe the whole of China, funny enough. I was very surprised about that. I believe Al Jazeera might screen it, and I believe that they are engaged with CNN as well. And it's drawn American interest because of the Glencore matter, and Glencore being uncovered as, and of course, President Ramaphosa being involved in that. This is now drawing huge, huge attention. And incidentally, when the Petra SA matter was ongoing, I dictated letters that was written to State President Ramaphosa, his brother-in-law, who then was Minister of Energy, Jeff Radebe, Tito Mboweni, who then was the Finance Minister, and Minister Pravin Gordhan, who's still in the mix. I've got the letters. They're all in the public domain. They're going out. The letters were dated the 26th of November, 2018, and we never knew it was quite as bad as this. But we put them, and we said, look, there's skullduggery going on in this matter with Petro SA. So they cannot claim ignorance. And in terms of Section 34 of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, those 4 gentlemen are now guilty, and they are now guilty of an offense in terms of Section 34 of that act as individuals. That then also makes the state itself guilty as being the originator and the manufacturer of crime. It then makes the state of South Africa, absolutely, the government of South Africa, guilty of corruption, just like any organized crime gangster gang would be. It's all there. All the things are in the public domain. The cases are there. The public can download it. The public can, it's public records. Remember, I've got 2 affidavits by Mike van der Veen and Andrew Johnson that they were personally in court in Grahamstown at the giving of these orders. And of course, there was no court on those dates at all.
Yeah.
The judgments, the type judgments. Now, remember, there's 4 companies, 3 different dates, so there should be 12 type judgments. The chief registrar, Lauren Marshall-Reen, they must have been under immense pressure. They go and they manufacture what they try and tell us are the covers, file covers, which we knew didn't exist because Mrs. Malchus had already gone and found the one. They send us pictures of the outside of what they claim to be the file covers. Now, I mean, how desperate and how stupid are you to actually come out with a story like that? We're not interested in the file covers. Why don't you, if you now say that you found these file covers, why don't you just look inside the files and take out the actual typed judgments if they exist? Yeah. Again, they don't exist because there wasn't any court. People are now, some of the former employees are now demanding the documents from the liquidators because there's a pile of documents from that the liquidators, for example, there should have been a first creditors meeting and a second creditors meeting by law. And I had to have a right to select which liquidators should be appointed. That never happened. They never even phoned me. They never got in touch with me. So none of those documents exist. And now what's happening is some of the former employees have gone to attorneys and they've gone to the labor people and they've gone to SARS. And of course, some of these these orders was supposed to have been filed with SARS. That never happened. It was supposed to have been published in the Daily Dispatch and in the Government Gazette. That never happened. And it wasn't filed with SARS, as I said. And 3-4 weeks ago, I went down to CIPC, and it's 4 years later, and those companies are not liquidated. They're still going 4 years after the fact. And in fact, they gave me the documents, and I went and opened a bank account for Theodore 119cc. I borrowed 500 Rand and I opened an account. I now have an account for Theodore 119cc, which was allegedly purportedly liquidated, final liquidation on the 22nd of August of 2018. I opened 3 weeks ago, I opened a bank account for it. It's not liquidated. And now we're waiting for them, if they've got the stones, to go and file fraudulent fraudulent papers with CIPC. We've got them now. Andrew Johnson deposed of an affidavit that he was personally in the Grahamstown High Court at the giving of the final orders of the 22nd of August. Mike van der Veen, is attorney in correspondent attorney in Grahamstown. He said that he was in court on all 3 of those dates in open court. Okay, now open court, it's in the public interest. They're supposed to advertise these things so that any potential creditor can come and see the liquidators and, you know, lodge any claims if they have any, and so on. This is supposed to be absolutely transparent. None of it happened. Nothing, not one. And you know why it didn't happen? They were absolutely stone cold sure, because they had people on the inside in my organization, and I suspect one was James Talbot. He's now in jail for another matter. They took one of our fuel tankers and cut it, a 3 million Rand fuel tanker, cut it up for scrap and sold it for 10,700 Rand for aluminium scrap value. That's another story. We'll deal with that one because we can't get the police. The police have been bribed on that. We even have the regional control prosecutor of the Port Shepstone court implicated on that. Him and I don't want to go there. I'll keep that safe for another day. But I mean, left, right, and center, there's no rule of law. You can forget it. The public, I can tell the public now, you have no chance. That's why none of your cases, if you go for any case, anybody who's prepared to pay a bribe, the case is going to go nowhere. I've got a string of other cases that's not related to mine where people have asked for help, because now I've spent 3 years studying the criminal acts, and I'm now in a position to help people and to assist with the drawing up of draft dockets, criminal dockets, and stuff like that. And you've got no chance. There is no rule of law. Absolutely. And then, of course, I want to actually take on Judge Raymond Zondo, our Chief Justice, and I want to say to him, he has made a statement that anybody who has got any information of any corrupt judges or any issues in the judiciary to please come forward. Well, I've got 5 or 6 emails that have recently gone out where Judge Zondo himself was cited into it, where what I'm now telling you, he has got, and he has not responded. Now, I'm calling him out straight out, and I'm saying to him, I'm saying to the Justice Ministry, I'm saying to State President Ramaphosa, I'm saying to them, this is the story. You make a big story. Oh, yeah, yes, what I think I might have read it. State capture was an assault on our democracy. And this is Minister Ramaphosa when Zondo handed him this. State capture was an assault on our democracy and violated the rights of every man, woman, and child in this country, according to Cyril Ramaphosa. Well, he said it, but he's part of the assault.
Yeah, he is.
I hope if there's any further information that the public wants, they're welcome to contact you, and I will answer openly, frankly. There's absolutely, my ID number is 5812285003-086. My name is Johann Roodt. I say what I say absolutely straight in the faces of everybody. And I'm saying in closing to the people of South Africa, it doesn't matter. Forget your racial conflicts. forget your ethnic
Yeah.
differences, forget your religious differences, all. We are all on a lifeboat, a plastic rubber lifeboat that's full of holes, and we're busy sinking. If we don't all now stand together and sort this out, we are all dead. We're gone. There's no chance of it at all going forward.
Oh, that's bad. That's not good to know. That's not good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Johann.
I hope this helps the people. It's heartbreaking to see what happens to people. It's terrible.
No,
It's
it is.
absolutely terrible. Bless you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye, Johann. Well, he couldn't hear us, but guys, we will post this recording on the groups. So we will, if you want to share it, please share it everywhere. I feel this is something that people need to know. We need to know, what is happening in our country, and we need to take hands. And like Johann said, we need to just look past, racism. And, if you're from a different church or from a different culture, whatever, just look past that, because right now, this is what we need to do. We need to take hands and we need to save our country. Right. Okay. Blessed evening for everybody. Chat soon. Bye.